welcome to the Deep Dive. This is brought to you by MW One Stops, Music, Movies, and Sport. So, just a heads up before we dive in today, a lot of the info we're drawing on comes from, well, the internet. And you know how that goes. Sometimes it's not the full story, maybe not 100% accurate, but we'll do our best with what we found.
Yeah, always good to keep that in mind with online sources.
Definitely. Okay, so today we're getting into the story of a band with just an incredible legacy. The Bar-Kays.
Mm-hmm. An amazing story.
It really is. Resilience, tragedy, reinvention, becoming funk superstars.
Quite the journey.
We're going to trace that whole arc and maybe spend a bit of time on one track in particular, Running In and Out of My Life from the Enjoy album.
Oh, great track. A fan favorite for sure.
Right. So let's set the scene. It starts back in Memphis, 1966.
Yeah, they come together as basically the house band for Stax Records, legendary label.
And you've got James Alexander on bass, Ben Cauley on trumpet, the core of that original group.
Mm-hmm. And they hit pretty quick, didn't they? With Soulfinger.
Yeah, Soulfinger was their first big splash,
Yeah.
an instrumental hit.
Which gets them out on the road, touring with the one and only Otis Redding.
Imagine that, right out of the gate, touring with Otis. What an experience.
Absolutely formative, you'd have to think. Learning from the best, seeing that level of performance.
But then comes that date, December 10th, 1967.
Yeah, just unimaginable tragedy.
The plane crash, it takes Otis Redding, and tragically most of the Bar-Kays, too.
Devastating. Just cuts down this incredibly promising young band, and of course Otis himself. A huge blow to music, period.
It really was. But in this almost unbelievable twist, Ben Cauley survives the crash.
Mm-hmm. The lone survivor from the plane.
And James Alexander, the bassist. He wasn't even on that flight.
Pure chance. Different plane, I think. Just fate.
It's hard to fathom. And that moment, obviously, it's this massive, tragic turning point for the band.
You think it's over, right? How do you possibly come back from that?
Exactly. But they did. And this is where the resilience part really kicks in, led by James Alexander.
He had to basically rebuild the entire band from the ground up.
And they didn't just try to recreate the old sound. There was a shift.
A big shift. Towards funk.
Yeah.
Late 60s, early 70s, funk was starting to bubble up everywhere.
And part of that rebuilding, that finding their new sound, involved working with another Stax giant.
Isaac Hayes.
Yeah.
Right. They became his backing band.
Think about that. Hot Buttered Soul. The Shaft soundtrack. Iconic stuff.
Absolutely. And the Bar-Kays are laying down those grooves. That must have been like a masterclass in this new funk and orchestrated soul sound Hayes was pioneering.
For sure. They weren't just session guys. They were integral to that sound, absorbing it, refining their chops in this new style.
It was probably crucial for them finding their own voice again after the tragedy.
Okay, so they work with Hayes, they're rebuilding. Then they sign with Volt Records, which was a Stax subsidiary, right?
Yeah.
Around 72 to 75.
Yeah, and this is where the new Bar-Kays sound really starts to solidify their own thing.
Talk about that sound. What defined it?
Oh, is heavy. Deep funk grooves, you know? Real infectious rhythms, syncopation, stuff that just grabs you.
And the stage presence too, right?
Oh, yeah.
They became known for being pretty flamboyant.
Oh, yeah. Energetic, visual, a full experience. Albums like Do You See What I See and Cold-Blooded from that Volt era really capture that raw funk energy.
It's like they fully embraced this new identity.
Completely. They took their soul roots, fused it with this harder funk edge. It was powerful.
Then, the mid to late 70s, they make another move. Mercury Records. 76 to 79.
And this is where they arguably hit their peak funk powers, commercially speaking.
Too Hot to Stop.
Yeah.
That album title kind of says it all.
And the big hit from that one.
Shake Your Rump to the Funk, an absolute anthem.
You couldn't escape that track. Pure funk energy. It cemented them as major players.
Arena headliners now.
Yeah.
Big tours, known for these wild, high-energy shows.
Yeah, they fully embraced the sort of funk spectacle, the costumes, the choreography. It was a whole vibe. Loud, proud funk.
Which leads us perfectly into 1979, the Enjoy album.
Right. Enjoy. Many see this as, like, their creative and commercial high point.
It's got some massive funk tracks on it. Move Your Boogie Body. Total party starter.
Oh, yeah. Classic Bar-Kays funk.
But the track we wanted to focus on, Running In and Out of My Life.
Ah, yes. Such a great song. And it shows a different side of them, doesn't it?
It really does. It's not the hard funk of Shake Your Rump. It's smoother, more soulful.
Exactly. It highlights Larry Dodson's vocals beautifully. There's real emotion there, a vulnerability. It shows their range.
That's the key word, isn't it? Versatility. They could bring the funk storm, but they could also deliver these Really heartfelt soul ballads.
And do both convincingly. That's why a track like Running In and Out of My Life resonates so much. It's got depth.
It feels timeless in a way that maybe some Cure party funk doesn't always achieve. It's become a real fan favorite over the decades.
Definitely. It connects on an emotional level. It reminds you they were amazing musicians across the board, not just groove merchants.
So the 70s were huge for them, but they didn't just disappear when the calendar flipped. The 80s brought new sounds.
New wave, synth funk. The whole musical landscape was changing rapidly.
And the Bar-Kays adapted. They weren't afraid to incorporate those newer sounds.
Right, and they kept having hits. Freakshow on the Dance Floor, Anticipation. Those are big radio songs.
From albums like Night Cruising, Propositions, they managed to stay relevant, which is pretty remarkable given how many funk bands faded in the 80s.
It speaks to their musicality and their willingness to evolve, Not
Yeah.
getting stuck in one sound. Adaptability.
Even into the 90s, maybe the mainstream hits weren't flowing quite the same, but they kept going.
Absolutely. Touring consistently, putting out independent releases. James Alexander's still there, the constant anchor.
Keeping the flame alive, maintaining that connection with their dedicated fan base.
Yeah, that loyalty is important. They never stop being a working band.
Then the 2000s roll around, and there's this, renewed interest in classic funk and soul, the old school revival tours.
And the Bar-Kays were right in the thick of it, touring with other legends.
And songs like Running In and Out of My Life probably found a whole new audience, or reminded the old one just how good it was.
For sure, good music endures. It's not just nostalgia. That song holds up because it's fundamentally great songwriting and performance.
Which brings us pretty much up to date. The last decade or so, Larry Dodds had eventually retired, right?
Mm-hmm.
A huge part of their sound for so long.
Yeah, the end of an era in some ways. But the band continues. Chris J. stepped in on vocals.
And James Alexander is still leading the charge. Incredible.
Still steering the ship after all these decades. They've put out new music, been featured in documentaries.
And got inducted into the Memphis Music Hall of Fame.
Which feels absolutely right.
Long overdue, some might say. It solidifies their place in music history, especially Memphis music history.
So when you step back and look at the whole picture, what a story. Survival, reinvention, musical impact.
It's more than just a band's career. It's a testament to resilience, overcoming unimaginable loss to create decades of influential music. Over 20 albums, countless hits. Their contribution is massive.
Undeniable. They helped define funk, but they were always more than just funk.
Yeah, that legacy, it's solid. And their impact on funk, R&B, you still hear it today.
You do, and Running In and Out of My Life stands as just one perfect example of that blend of soul, funk, and sheer musicality.
That versatility we talked about. It showed they could make you dance but also make you feel.
Precisely. It captures that depth beyond the party anthems. A beautiful, soulful track.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Think about that journey. From the ashes of tragedy, building something new, constantly adapting, never quitting.
Yeah, it really makes you reflect on what resilience looks like and how powerful music can be, not just for listeners, but for the creators navigating life's challenges.
The Bar-Kays. An incredible story, incredible music.